What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC 311. We have Islam Makhachev going against Arman Tsarukyan. And yeah, right back at it with a 14-fight slate on a completely stacked pay-per-view card. We got two title fights to work with, and just, really good card from top to bottom. Tons of good fights, tons of good options to choose from. So looking forward to breaking it all down from a DraftKings perspective. Before we get into, if you guys could like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, and also check out dfsbythenumbers.com. That's where you'll find all my other betting and DraftKings content on DraftKings. For DraftKings, you got the fighter stats you see on the Friday, Saturday shows, the targets, projections, ownership projections, the rankings, the lineup optimizer, the DraftKings article, the prize picks, plays, and much, much more. Check it all out at dfsbythenumbers.com. And also check out Prize Picks right now. If you go to Prize Picks, use code DFSBTN. You'll get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup, whether you win it or lose it. And then also on Prize Picks, they have a free pick. Will Howard needs to get one passing yard on Prize Picks. So take advantage. Use that code DFSBTN. Get yourself $50 free on Prize Picks and get yourself that free pick. Will Howard should be able to get 1 yard passing. You got to imagine. With all that out of the way, I say we get into the fight. Doesn't go to decision lines. I think a lot of finishes coming up on this pay-per-view card. Last week we had 9 finishes. This week I could see around the same. We got Almeida Spivak up top, minus 350 for the fight. Doesn't go to decision. This is a fight that I'm going to be targeting heavily, but mostly on the Almeida side, I'd say. Really like Jailton Almeida a lot this week. He's 9,500. I think he wins. I think he makes it look quite easy. I do think both these guys have a little bit of quit in them. I think whoever gets on top is going to be the one having success. I do think that's Jailton getting on top, but if it's Spivak getting on top, maybe Spivak can potentially pose some problems in his own right. So I think somebody's getting served here. I think somebody's getting served early on. My pick is Jailton Almeida. I'm going to have quite a bit of Jailton Almeida, but Sergey Spivak at 6,700. We have seen Jailton knocked out before by Curtis Blades. It's kind of an awkward situation. Can maybe see something like that here as well. But yeah, I like Almeida, but Spivak not a terrible pump play, I'd say. Next, we have Peyton Talbot going against Hany Barcelos. I do think this fight finishes. Peyton Talbot, I can't remember the last time we've seen somebody at 9,900, not in years and years and years, if ever at all. So 9,900, probably not going to get there. The way he pays this off would be like a 60-second knockout. I don't think that Hany Barcelos is Yanis Skemori. I think that Talbot probably does win by knockout, but it's hard to predict him to knock out Hany like he's some bum. So yeah, I think I'm going to be fading Peyton Talbot. I hope people play him because 9,900, if he's not getting that 60-second bonus, he's not paying it off. I mean, he's not grappling here. He doesn't grapple any fights. I think it's one of the easier fades. So maybe he does finish Hany in 60 seconds, but it's really hard to count on that. As far as Barcelos, just no interest there. So probably going to be fading this fight for the most part. Next, we got Bogdan Guskov going against Billy Elikana. I don't love this fight, to be honest. It's a Guskov fight, and so this was supposed to be Guskov versus Johnny Walker. I would have been all over that fight from a DraftKings perspective. I would probably have been all in at that point, but Elikana, unlike Johnny Walker, has durability. He has toughness. He's never been knocked out, so I kind of feel like this fight might get extended a little bit and maybe even go the distance, believe it or not. So this is not a fight that I'm too heavy on. I don't mind Guskov at 9,100. He is taking on a newcomer. He does have a ton of power, but it's not something I'm really running to play a ton of. But yeah, Guskov, if anything. Maybe Elikana as like a pump play. I don't have a ton of interest personally. He didn't really wow me. Hasn't fought the best competition, doesn't have a ton of power, but, Guskov, I also don't think he's that great in his own right. So, yeah, interesting fight, but not a ton of interest on my end. And then we got Jamal Hill, Yuri Prochazka. This is a fight where I do have some interest. Minus 275 for the fight, doesn't go to decision. We got Jamal Hill, 8,200. Yuri Prochazka, 8,000. It's a Yuri Prochazka fight, which means I do want to target it, which means there's going to be chaos. Both these guys have no striking defense. Both these guys have a lot of power. I think somebody probably gets knocked out within the first 2 rounds. So yeah, I think it's a great fight to target overall. My lean is Jamal Hill. I think he's more defensively sound. I think he has better volume, better striking, but Yuri's a complete madman who can change the fight all with one shot. So, yeah, great fight to target both sides. Personally, lean Hill ever so slightly, but I'm going to be pretty evenly split on both sides, I think, here. Getting into the core plays, we have Jailton Almeida, 9,500. We talked about Jailton. I love Jailton in this matchup. Anytime I've seen Spivak on his back, it's looked atrocious. In the first Marcin Tybura fight, it looked bad against Sergey Spivak, or not Sergey Spivak, against Old Man Oleinik. Sergey Spivak looked very, very bad off his back. Old Man Oleinik was able to instantly get into mount, and if Jailton gets in the mount, I think the fight's going to be over shortly after. So I like Jailton. I think he finishes early, and I think he pays off this price tag of 9,500. Carol Hoza, 8,600. I think Hoza's sneaky. I love always playing Carol Hoza from a DraftKings perspective because on the feet she throws incredible volume. One of the highest volume strikers on the slate, like behind like a Peyton Talbot. She's landed 150 significant strikes in multiple fights in her career. Carol Hoza on the feet is going to have a massive advantage as well. See, I think she can rack up that volume, but I also think she's live for a sneaky finish here if Eileen Perez does slow down, tire out. I could see Hoza actually getting her first UFC finish down the stretch. So I don't mind Carol Hoza. Hopefully she's low owned. So yeah, don't mind Hoza at all at 8,600. Jamal Hill, 8,200. We talked about this fight. I think it's important. I think somebody's getting served. My pick is Jamal Hill by second round knockout. I lean him, and we'll be having my fair share of this fight as a whole. Islam Makhachev, 9,400. I do like Makhachev here. 25 minutes to work with. I think he has some takedown upside. I think his striking has improved so much since their first fight. Flashing some power nowadays. I do like Islam, and I like him quite a bit. Like him in cash games. Like him in tournaments as well. I think he's fine here. We'll talk about Arman in a little bit as well. I think Arman's an interesting pump play. Same thing, 25 minutes to work with. He has some power, but I just think Islam's going to be better wherever this fight goes. So I like Islam, 9,400, and I think he can put up a really solid score across 25 minutes or maybe get a late finish. Moving on to the GPP plays here. We got Rinya Nakamura at 9,600. Rinya, very expensive here, but I think he has some finishing upside, and I think he has a lot of wrestling upside. Unlike Peyton Talbot, who's 300 more and is going to be nearly impossible to find the optimal Peyton Talbot, I think that Rinya, who's 300 cheaper, can wrestle, can mix in a lot of takedowns. Wayne Gaffarov, he can be taken down, but he has good scrambling ability, which means he's going to get back up, which only means it's going to lead to more takedowns there. I also think that Gaffarov's chinny. Gaffarov's getting dropped in pretty much every single fight. I could see some knockdowns here. I could see a potential finish as well, a late finish. Yeah, I don't mind some Rinya Nakamura at 9,600. Kevin Holland, 8,300. This is kind of like the Yuri Hill fight for me in a sense that I think somebody's getting served here. Kind of how I'm seeing it is I think it's De Ridder early submission or Kevin Holland late knockout. I think somebody's getting finished here one way or another. Holland very well could get subbed early on, but if he's not getting subbed early on, I think De Ridder's going to slow down, tire out, and I think Holland gets him late. Grant Dawson, 9,000. Another guy like Rinya Nakamura with just a lot of grappling upside. Grant Dawson, one of the best wrestlers, one of the best control grapplers in the division as well. He can take you down. He can control you. So when he's doing that, he's racking up takedowns. He's racking up control time. He can also land a lot of ground and pound as well. He's improved that ground and pound. We saw that in his last fight. So yeah, I also think Dawson's live for a late finish. We've seen Ferreira get finished in the second round before. A couple times. Yeah, we saw him finished in the second round against Gamrot, the second round against Gillespie. Wouldn't shock me if we saw like a Dawson round 2-3 finish as well. So yeah, I like Dawson, 9,000. And I think that's another good fight to target as well because Dawson has dropped the ball in the past. I think both guys, their durability is a little bit iffy. And then this is a weird one here. Zach Reese, 8,800. So Zach Reese was supposed to originally take on SD Dumas, and I absolutely loved Reese in that matchup. I thought he was going to smoke SD Dumas. I don't think SD Dumas is that great at all. But in steps Azamat Bukayev, and Bukayev is coming in here as the favorite, and so we have two guys who are both 8,800. Bukayev being the minus 200 favorite. So my thinking here is I don't want to ignore Zach Reese. I don't care what his price tag is, what the money line is. This is a guy, Zach Reese, with a 100% finish. Well, not a 100, almost a 100% finish rate. He didn't finish that Jose Medina in his last fight, but prior to that, 100% finish rate, all coming under 1.5 rounds. He has a ton of power, has a submission game, and this Bukayev guy is coming in here on short notice. I wasn't that impressed with him. He puts himself into bad spots, and I would not be shocked if Zach Reese finished Bukayev, and if he does, at 8,800, I feel like he's going to be very, very low owned, because why would you play a guy who's 8,800 as a plus 160, plus 170 dog, right? So I will be sprinkling some Zach Reese. I think he's an interesting dart throw this week. He's an underdog on the money line, but we have to pay up for him at 8,800. Moving on to the live dogs, Yuri Prochazka, we talked about, a complete madman, no strike and defense, but that hasn't stopped him before. He's going to eat shots to give shots. Somebody's getting served, somebody's getting knocked out, and Yuri has a ton of power. Don't mind some Yuri Prochazka. Probably going to split this fight right down the middle in terms of ownership, maybe slightly in Hill, but yeah, Yuri cannot be ignored. Beneil Dariush, 7,500. There has been some money coming in on the money line of Beneil Dariush throughout the week. And yeah, I think is a very live underdog here. I think skill for skill, him and Moicano are very close in skill. I think Beneil Dariush is even probably the better striker. I think he's absolutely the better wrestler. I think the grappling's comparable as well. I think they're very similar fighters. Both guys 35 years old, both guys lacking durability. I think this fight should be lined a lot closer. I think the salary should be a lot closer. So Beneil Dariush at 7,500 makes a lot of sense to me. Eileen Perez, 7,600. Although I'm picking her to lose, if Perez wins this fight, like, she's probably one of the better dogs on the card. Like, what's her game plan? The game plan is going to be to wrestle and wrestle hard for 15 minutes. And she can't. She averages like 5 takedowns per 15 minutes. We have seen Carol Hoza taken down in the past. So yeah, Eileen Perez, 7,600, absolutely a live dog, and a live dog with some upside. I think it all comes down to, for me, whether or not her cardio is going to hold up for the full 15 minutes. But Eileen Perez is certainly a live dog that should not be ignored. And then speaking of a live dog that should not be ignored, Merab Dvalishvili, 7,000, one of the best DraftKings scorers in the UFC, and he's at 7K. He's a guy that's going to go out there and he can attempt literally 50 takedowns. We saw it against Petr Yan. The dude attempted like 50-some to takedowns, and that can't be ignored from a betting perspective or from a DraftKings perspective. I'm personally picking Nurmagomedov, but I do think the fight's going to be close. It's going to be competitive, and in terms of like from a cash game perspective, especially, like Merab can lose and still put up close to 100. He truly can. So, but in a win, Merab Dvalishvili has, I think, the highest ceiling on the entire slate, and he's 7K. So yeah, Merab, from a cash perspective, I love it. From a GPP perspective, I think he's certainly in play. It's just hard to ignore the amount of upside he brings in a win and even a loss as well. So yeah, love me some Merab this week. Pump plays would be Sergey Spivak, 6,700. Just because I don't fully trust Jarlton, like in the back of my head, like I think Jarlton does have some quit in him. That Curtis Blades fight was a really weird look. And if Spivak is able to get on top of Jarlton, it could be over shortly after. I think it's going to come down to who gets on top first. My pick is Jarlton to get on top first. But if Spivak gets on top, I kind of question how Jarlton's going to look in that spot there. So yeah, I don't mind some Spivak. I think somebody's getting served there probably in the first round and a half. And then the fade is going to be Peyton Talbot, 9,900. It's a steep price tag to pay. It's very steep. Like I said, I can't remember the last time somebody was 9,900. I don't think it's ever happened. The only time I can think of is when maybe DraftKings first started, maybe like a Amanda Nunez way back in the day. So, but other than that, 9,900, it's just too much. Outside of a 60-second finish, and even then, will it even be enough? Because we have some high scores on the slate. So yeah, I'm willing to fade the 60-second finish and hope that Hani Barcelos can hang in there for at least 60 seconds. And if he does, he's not finding his way on the optimal lineup. I don't believe so. With no grappling, no control, with just straight strike, I just don't see it. It's a pretty easy fade there for me on Peyton Talbot. And yeah, guys, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you could like, subscribe, I do appreciate that a lot. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys are liking down in the comment section there. And of course, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. That's the best way to support me. And on top of that, you'll get all my other content. Like I said, the stats you see on the Friday, Saturday shows, the targets, the projections, the ownership projections, the rankings. I got Prize Picks plays on there, DraftKings article, lineup optimizer, just a ton of other stuff, other tools you guys can use to help you out and hopefully win some money on Saturday. So best of luck, guys. We'll talk to you soon and see you later.